If you've watched any of my more recent videos, you'll likely see that something is missing from them. A piece of equipment that is a staple of paintball, and part of most people's loadouts, from rentals and first-timers to professionals. I'm of course talking about a hopper. Hoppers are great, and they allow you to hold a ton of paint. They're super quick and easy to reload, and they aren't actually as big of a hindrance as they may appear. So why don't I use one? And why should you consider leaving your hopper in your gear bag next time you hit the field? Let's get into it. As I just mentioned, hoppers have a ton of benefits, with very little drawbacks. And there's a reason they've become the standard in all levels of play. They're simply the best method of feeding paintballs that the sport has to offer. The few drawbacks that come with them are relatively trivial and easy to train around. So why would you want to use anything else? Well, I have three main reasons why I like playing without a hopper. But before I get into those reasons, I want to talk about a few ways that I play without a hopper and how you can too. The first and most accessible method is to swap out your hopper and pod pack for these 10-round tubes. These tubes, as the name suggests, hold 10 rounds each, and a 10-pack of them can be purchased online for about $12. And I carry them on the field with me using a 12-gauge shotgun shell belt that I got off eBay for $5. To use them, you'll either need an adapter that allows you to jam a tube into your feed neck, or a stick feed that will fit inside your feed neck. 3D printed options can be found online for $10 to $15, or you can just make your own. I've actually made adapters with cardboard from an empty paint box in the past when I lost my usual adapter. Method 2 is on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's more expensive, more complicated, and requires a specialized marker, but it's also pretty cool in my opinion. Of course, I'm talking about MagFed. MagFed markers are typically fed by a detachable box magazine that holds between 10 and 20 paintballs, and come in a wide variety of configurations from pistols to full-size rifle-style markers. For people who are interested in MagFed but aren't into the tactical milsim scene, there are more streamlined style options like the Planet Eclipse EMF 100. MagFed has some major benefits and drawbacks compared to rocking 10-round tubes. For example, the paintballs are fed into the marker by a spring in the magazine, meaning you shouldn't have to worry about shooting faster than paintballs are being fed into your marker. Paintballs can also be fed from any angle since you aren't relying on gravity to feed the paint. Many MagFed markers can also shoot first strike rounds, though that's an entirely different topic that I won't be getting into. MagFed markers also have the benefit of very quick reloads. All you have to do is drop your empty mag and insert a fresh one. Unfortunately, all these benefits don't come without drawbacks. Due to the spring pressure of the mags, MagFed markers don't handle fragile paint very well, even on modern platforms like the EMF 100. The magazines themselves can also be a drawback, since not all magazines are created equal, and they can be quite expensive. For example, a Planet Eclipse mag costs $30. If you want to carry 100 rounds on you, that's going to be $150. And you are going to lose and break magazines eventually. Unfortunately, it's just part of the game. As if that wasn't expensive enough, you also need to figure out how you want to carry the magazines. Everyone has their own preferred way, and it may take some trial and error to find what works best for you. One tip if you're looking for magazine pouches is that 7.62 and 308 magazine pouches usually fit 20-round paintball magazines better than 5.56 magazine pouches. The final style of marker is a hybrid between the last two, and it's my preferred style, and that's the spring feed marker. Unfortunately, this type of marker setup is not very common, and building one will require some custom work. These spring feed markers are technically mag-fed, but instead of feeding from a detachable box magazine, they feed from a fixed tube magazine, like a shotgun or a lever gun, and are reloaded via 10-round tubes. The benefits of this setup are its low cost compared to traditional mag-fed setups, its quick feeding compared to the tube feed, and the fact that it doesn't rely on gravity. It's also more gentle on paint when compared to traditional mag-fed. The drawbacks are its slow and more complex reload, and being limited to 10 rounds, unless you can find or build a 20-round spring feed. The reload isn't as straightforward as tube feed and traditional mag-fed setups. First, you have to retract the follower, then open the feed gate, pour in the paint, close the feed gate, then release the follower. It can be a little awkward at first, but with a bit of practice, it's not too bad. So those are my 3 hopperless marker setups. Now let's talk about why you might want to try ditching the hopper every once in a while. The first reason is cost. Paintball is expensive, and when you go out onto the field with a 200 round hopper and 4 pods, it's really easy to shoot a lot of paint without really thinking. Of course, you can exercise some self-control, but that's easier said than done for a lot of us. When you only have roughly 100 rounds and only 10 or 20 rounds before having to reload, it's a lot harder to shoot through a case. Most days I run one of these setups, I don't even get through 2 bags of paint in a day. And this leads me to my second reason. When you don't have a ton of paint to waste, you have to play smarter and pick your shots better. You're probably going to be putting yourself at a disadvantage. Instead of slinging a stream of 20 or 30 balls at an opponent moving between cover, you need to learn to pick them off with 2 or 3 shots. Instead of sitting at the back of the field dumping pod after pod at any hint of movement, you're going to have to move quickly, play aggressively, and learn to snap shoot. Finally, it's just nice to mix things up occasionally. It keeps the game interesting. And you don't necessarily have to ditch your hopper to do this. Try running a mech gun or a mag fed, pump, stock class, or even try rocking an older marker. Anything that's outside your norm. Maybe pick up a used Tipman 98 for $30 and remember what it's like to play with a rental on occasion. So that's why I like to keep the hopper in my gear bag. It helps me save money, it forces me to be a better player, and it helps keep the game from becoming stale. If any of the markers you saw in this video looked interesting, go ahead and check out some of my full gameplay videos with them. And if you want more information on them, or how I set up my gear, just leave a comment. Thanks for watching.